Hello, everybody. ASBL rosters, 8 minutes. Let's speed run this. That's not much time for an intro here. Okay, so the Olympus Bolts. You've got your BaRRaCCuDDa, Jake, Venenu, LASBRA, Haddix, and Rowe. It's old Renegades, but Renegades towards the end of last season. But with Haddix coming in solo for variety, I definitely think this could be a strong team. I think they played really well towards the end of last season, especially. I think it took them a while to kind of build up as a team last year. I thought towards the end they were great. I think Haddix, capable, apparently very good friends with Jake, which is only going to serve to help them out. Hopefully they have a good team dynamic in the house and stuff like that. I heard there were some struggles last year, but, you know, hopefully this team can keep doing well. Definitely big game players, it seems, and if Jake and BaRRa in the Joe lane can drive this team forward and LASBRA can find consistency, I definitely think that's how they can make it from being sort of verging on the top to the top for next year. Okay, Atlantis Leviathans, Old Sanguine with a roster change. Hardcore ADC, Rongu support, Shinto mid, Panatom in jungle, Julio in solo lane, and Oxylodon's coming back into the coach role. So the only roster change here is Netrioid out, Hardcore switching roles, and Julio coming in from the EUSCC. Had a great year last year, Julio. I think I gave him a shout out as sort of my player on Belt Slap who played the best last year out of all of them. I really enjoyed watching him. The only downside of him being picked up for this team, I guess, is that he's always been a warrior player. He's always liked warriors in the solo lane, so you've got to look out for that in the meta. If it's a warrior meta, I think it's always going to suit Huli. Hardcore moving over to ADC is the other thing you'd look at for this team. Can he adjust? He plays a lot of the game, plays a lot of ranked, which I think is a big thing when it comes to switching roles. So I guess that's what we've got to look out for this team, and that's what's going to push them on. Hopefully they can continue to grow. I feel like they started off last year really well, but then kind of maybe lost motivation. I don't know what happened with them, but they seem to fall off a cliff. So hopefully this year they can come in strong and carry that momentum through. Next up, Jade Dragons. You've got PandaCat ADC, PBM in support, Hurriwind mid, Sanford Soccer in the jungle, FineOkay solo, and Kabom in the coach role. Kabom coming back after spending a year as an admin. He was a great admin, by the way. Shout out to him. He was really good to speak to. I already won the world championship with Splice before. Seems a really down-to-earth guy, very calming influence, so I'm excited to see how he does with the team. I mean, coaches, I don't pretend to know too much about what a coach brings. It's really down to the players, and only they know. Hurriwind coming into the mid lane to replace Twig, obviously being the other roster change on this team. Interesting for me. I think Hurry's going to bring a lot of the same things as Twig did. He's almost maybe the most, maybe he's quite a similar temperament to Twig, I think. I think this team needs somebody who's going to have different ideas than what I think Mike and maybe Panda's pushing it, but I see it as Mike pushing the way that they play the game. I think they play really well, but then they seem to be a bit one-dimensional. Maybe they need somebody to push them to be a bit more multifaceted, and hopefully Hurriwind can be that for them. Okay, next up, Oni Warriors. You've got the combination of SSG and Pittsburgh Knights from last year here. You've got Vote ADC, Nilma support, Dardes mid, Cubo Fred jungle, Nika solo, and L Chuckles in the coach role. I think this is a fantastic deal here for Vote, Dardes, and Nika. Cubo coming off the best performance in his career last year, especially at Worlds. Neil, I think, is exactly what they need after losing Cherry, someone who's going to kind of corral them and organize them and do the sort of hard work for them, to be honest. I think they had Cherry, who I feel like carried that SSG team a lot in terms of the work that's done outside of the server, I guess, if you want to put it that way. It's kind of CS terms, but yeah, I think Neil will cover that for them a lot, and Chuckles coming in definitely seems to be a good influence on those teams. From all the videos I saw from PK last year, I really liked the way Chuck spoke about the game. Again, coaches, it's hard to say, but I think this team is going to be one of the favorites going into next year. Tartarus Titans. This is going to be Radiance plus the remainder of the Pittsburgh Knights. You've got CycloneSpin ADC, Aror support, Paul mid, Scary D jungle, I believe, Benji solo, I believe, and Cherryo coaching. So interesting that you got Cherry coaching, Kabom choosing to go for old rival over this team, I guess, and Cherry, I don't know, he doesn't seem like he's particularly pals with these guys, so it's interesting to see him end up on this squad. Scary into the jungle. He's been grinding ranked. He was one of the, I saw he had an insane amount of games, I'm sure, towards the early portion of Season 8. So definitely taking it seriously. I think it'll be interesting to see how he does in the jungle if he can adjust pretty quickly. I think he will. He's been around the scene for a long time, but he's got assassins in the locker and solo. Paul coming into mid, I feel like he'll do a job for sure. I think this team will actually suit him. Aror is going to have to do a lot of the talking on this team, is maybe the thing you'd say with Scary moving into the jungle. I don't know how much of a shot caller he is. Maybe he shot calls a lot of solo. Not sure, but I think Aror, Paul, ScaryDa, this looks to me like Aror is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting on the shot calling, and I think he's up for the task. So definitely looking forward to watching this team. Camelot Kings, next up, Netrioid off of Sanguine and onto this roster in the ADC role. Genetics comes in and support BMT in the mid lane. Twig back to the jungle and back to a non-NA roster worth noting. Variety in the solo lane, and Biggy is the coach for this one. We've got 3 UK players. We've got Netrioid, 4 UK players, sorry, and then Netrioid and Biggy filling out this roster. I'll be interested to see how this one goes. Twig obviously is going to have a huge amount of influence on this team depending on how his comeback into the jungle goes. I think that's a lot of what will define how well this team does, as well as how well they get on. A lot of strong personalities in this team. Biggy's dealt with that before in Dignitas, and I feel like he's dealt with it well. So hopefully he can do it again. But yeah, I'm excited to see this team play. I think Genetics being in the SPL, he's going to bring a lot of wacky ideas, a lot of interesting ideas. But I do wonder about how this team's going to get on. Sort of interpersonally, there's a lot of strong personalities there, a lot of people who are going to have strong feelings about the game. Okay, next up, Valhalla Valkyries, emilitoo ADC, iRaffer support, Zyrhoes mid, Dzoni jungle, Ducky solo, and Tigress as their coach. Okay, so you got to look at this, the 2-time world championship winning duo lane back together. Zyrhoes and Dzoni come out of belt slap, come back into the SPL, and Ducky seems like he's just kind of filling a spot on this roster, to be honest. Doesn't seem like he fits in too well, but I'm happy to see Ducky staying around. Tigress, obviously, well, I say obviously, seems to me like she's just there to make it so iRaffer would join the team, really. They had obviously an unfortunate happening with their house, which I imagine is what changed iRaffer's mind and let him move out there. This team, I don't know how I feel about it. I think they have potential if they can all rally behind, and Zyrhoes is going to have to take control and they're going to have to listen to him. I worry that they won't, to be honest. I don't think iRaffer and Emil are very up for just listening to Zyrhoes and going with what he says, which is what I think is the best way to play around Zyrhoes. So we'll see. I think we could see some roster changes on the horizon with this team. Solar Scarabs, Zapman ADC, inbound support, BaRRaCCuDDa mid, layers jungle, SOT, solo, and sLainy in the coach role. This is kind of like the leftovers for me. I got 15 seconds. Leftovers, console plus leftovers. Zapman, you got to wonder why he didn't end up on another roster here, and he's ended up on this one. SOT may be the only roster that would take him after last year. I think this team might struggle. BaRRaCCuDDa, I think everybody wanted this to be Crimson, but he couldn't join. So yeah, that's it. We're just over 8 minutes here. I've given this a good go. Surely the intro and the outro don't count towards my 8 minutes. Let's say 8 rosters in 8 minutes. Surely I've done it. Season 8. I'm going to be doing more broken down, in-depth videos for each of these teams as well, so keep an eye out for them. But that's been it for me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you with the next time with a more in-depth breakdown. Cheerio. Bye.